So we come to our last point in our model for administration and organization. We've looked at recognizing needs, creating a plan, organizing that plan, and then stimulating or motivating and promoting to put the plan into action and to make it work. Covered a lot of other things in between, and I hope that you'll take the time to go back through these videos as often as necessary to pick up those points and to become acquainted with these simple steps, because as I mentioned, there is a lot of information out there in the area of leadership and organization and administration. You'll find some are very, very complicated tomes, books that are thick and written in technical language that are hard to understand. You'll find some stuff that's even more simple than what I'm sharing with you here. But I have come to understand that these 5 simple steps, if they are followed, and they are followed carefully, will make it possible for you as a leader of an organization or ministry to be successful in that ministry. Let's talk about then evaluating. Evaluating the need that you've recognized, evaluating the plan that you've put together, evaluating the organizing that went into that plan, evaluating the motivating and the promotion that went into making that plan work. How do we know if we hit our target? As I said earlier, if we aim at nothing, we're sure to hit it. And if we shoot first and then draw the target, it'll seem like we scored a bullseye every time. The previous steps of recognizing the need, planning, organizing, and stimulating have allowed us to implement a ministry plan with a specific goal. The next and last step, evaluating, will help us to determine whether the goal was met. Now, the excitement and the enthusiasm of doing something for God has motivated a host of workers to collectively offer their talents, their time, and their treasure. The event has been implemented. The target audience has responded. Now, how do we determine how effective the ministry program was? The answer to that question lies in how we do our evaluating. The evaluation stage is often overlooked and it's often skipped. There are several reasons. One reason is that it can be time consuming. There are so many needs that are around us, we may feel that we don't have time to be looking backward. We need to be looking forward. We need to look at the next task and the next need that needs to be addressed. It takes time to evaluate the complexities of an event, and often the workers are tired, they're ready to relax, they're ready to go on to something else. Another reason is that there are other pressing needs that clamor for our attention. And some may think that time is too precious to be wasted on things in the past. And a third reason is that we have fear that we may not like the results, that we'll have to confront the fact that maybe we didn't implement the best plan, or we didn't target our audience correctly, or we didn't achieve our goal. Nonetheless, the values and the benefits of evaluation outweigh the liabilities. Now, evaluation can take many forms. Some organizations use informal methods of evaluation, while others use more structured forms of evaluation. Structured evaluation has a desirable quality to it in that informal methods because the information gathered can be saved and used in the future. A variety of methods can be used to evaluate the effectiveness of a program. Each method has its pros and cons. All methods should be explored at one point or another depending on the event or the activity that was undertaken. One of the ways that you can evaluate the plan and the work that you have engaged in is through the use of outside consultants. By outside, we mean people who have not been involved in the task and who have the ability to evaluate objectively. They may be people in your own congregation or a sister church. It may be advantageous to seek out another Christian organization from a different denomination to perform the task or this service for you. Outside consultants can be provided with the mission statement, the need that your plan was attempting to address, a detailed plan with its objectives, and a report of the organization that went into that plan. Prepare to be confronted with another perspective other than your own. We often have blind spots that others who are not intimately involved do not have. It is probable that you will have to pay for this kind of consulting service, and you don't have to do it for every plan or every idea that you've implemented a program for. But from time to time, the use of an outside consultant can be very beneficial. The advantages are usually worth it. When procuring this kind of service, ask for specific details for the areas that are being evaluated. A general report will not be very helpful in fully understanding the strengths and weaknesses of what you tried to do. Another method for evaluating takes into account a report that's put together by a committee. The committee should seldom be larger than 7 or 9 people and should reflect a broad balance of opinion. Workers from the project could and should be represented, but should constitute a minority of the committee's membership. Too many workers can deter objective criticism, and they may be tempted to spend the bulk of their time defending the project. The committee should be given a time deadline. A report should be submitted by the committee, preferably a written report. The report should list strengths, weaknesses, and they should include suggestions for further endeavors that may help to improve the ministries and the programs that you will attempt to address in the future. A major advantage to having a committee is that feedback will be more objective than if the evaluation was done by just an individual. More ideas for improvement come out of a committee than from an individual. The other side of the coin is equally important, that no one individual will be singled out in the event that the evaluation is one-sided. No one will be tempted to take too much credit or too much blame. If you don't want to use a report by a committee for a particular project, then you may want to entertain the idea of having an evaluation session. What you do here is that key leaders in the program or plan meet together to exchange their perspectives. Each of these leaders can then request feedback from the others and give objective criticism and suggestions about the other aspects and components of the plan or the program. This method can be very useful in team building. The members of the evaluation team learn how others they are involved with think and work. This knowledge will expedite the organization of future projects. Now, the evaluation session also serves to bring a project to a healthy conclusion. Discussing the various stages and determining as a group how closely these goals were met creates a sense of satisfaction for the team. Now, maybe you don't want to use a team evaluation. You could use a questionnaire. Now, questionnaires can be effective in evaluating programs and events. Distributing a questionnaire at intermittent times during the implementation of an event can result in valuable information to assist in evaluating the effectiveness of a project. The questionnaires must be brief for maximum participation and should provide respondents with a variety of alternative answers. Now, when I say brief, they should be like maybe 10 well-crafted questions or statements. And when I say alternative answers, I'll give you a couple of examples. A poor example would be to ask as a question or to make a statement, did you enjoy tonight's presentation? There's really only probably one of 2 answers, a yes or a no, or, no comment. So that you can have 3 possible answers. And usually those answers are somewhat subjective. However, if you were to rephrase that question to look something like this, tonight's presentation was informative. Choice 2, hard to understand. Choice 3, boring. Choice 4, fascinating. Choice 5, enjoyable. While it may be still somewhat subjective, there's a broader spectrum that you can use to determine how the participants viewed the particular plan or the program that you implemented. Now, when evaluating the questionnaires, you will draw a more accurate conclusion by offering alternative answers. Questionnaires should be made available within a reasonable time after the conclusion of an event, oftentimes at the closing session of that event or that program. Memories cannot be relied on to provide us with accurate information when too much time has passed. So to summarize, Any and all of these methods may be used. Some method of evaluation should be used on every significant program or event. Evaluation allows us to see how close we came to truly hitting the bullseye. So we've seen that a great deal of material has been covered in a very short amount of time. This presentation is intended to be used as a foundation for future building. The bibliography that is part of the notes that you have been given as part of this course will supply you with additional information to enhance your understanding of administration and organization. Each of the steps in our model can be studied extensively to refine the basics covered here. You will find other models with more steps, but all of the models you encounter will include at least the steps that are mentioned in this presentation. Administration and organization are essential for ministry to be effective and efficient. I hope that you will look at administration and organization as the spiritual activity and spiritual gift that needs to be employed in the church that it is. Because to look upon it as a necessary evil would suggest that it's not important to do administration and organization, and therefore you suffer the consequences of having poor administration and organization. But if you look upon this as an activity of the Spirit that comes out of a prayer life that desires to want to do things well for the glory of God, that spends time in the Word of God, understanding how God's mind works and how God wants to do His work in the world, and then carefully discerning and walking by the leading of the Spirit, you too can be a good administrator and a good organizer, and the church can profit tremendously from it.